To get started. My name is Mike James. If you haven't met me before, I work for AT&T. I manage a service known as Hosted Voice Service, HVS. And I'm sure everyone here is familiar with what that product is, at least at a high level. The purpose of these calls that we're holding twice a week from now to the end of the year and have been holding for the last few weeks are related to the 911 compliance law known as Baum, the Baum Act, technically. All users, all customers, all administrators need to make sure that by the beginning of next year, January 6th of 22 is the technical date. AT&T has sort of said by the end of this year, 12/31, that our customers will all be compliant with that act. Now, AT&T is not here to be the auditor. We're here to facilitate and make sure that you have the capabilities and tools to be compliant with the act. However, the real purpose of this is it coincides with a new release of API, which is the graphical user interface that all of our administrators and many of you should be aware of, that use to manage the service HVS day to day. And we've added in the new code drop that just occurred in the last week. Actually, the very last server occurred on the night of November 1, so just a few days ago. Others were updated last week. The new capabilities and fields within API to allow you to administer, manage, and maintain what's known as a dispatchable location for 911 to be compliant with this law through API. Prior to that, you certainly had the ability through a separate login and set of credentials through our other partner Intrado to work with their emergency routing service and upload and update routing locations information, as well as assign those to telephone numbers of users before. So the purpose of these calls, and it's an evolving set of activities, there was sort of what I'm going to call 2 weeks worth of sort of introductory phase, stage one, phase one information that we shared. All the information that we're discussing, including this call, are being recorded. That's a problem you should drop now. And they will be posted on the website that we have for both remedial purposes and for those who didn't have the opportunity to participate but want to go back over the material. I'm joined today by AT&T's partner in offering and operating HVS by ClearSpan. David Chambers is here. David performs many functions to help us out, and he's going to take us through the details of what API introduced. But at a high level, I'm going to tell you what we're about to tell you, and then I'll back away. Fundamentally, we now have a tool that lets you go in and define what's known as response locations. We're going to call them ERLs today, emergency response locations. That's what they're technically called. And you'll need to figure out within your world whether you need to define multiples or singular or how many you need. Many times they're driven by the kind of building you're in. So today with 911, right, we talk about street address and street number, right? 123 Main Street. And that's where we've been familiar for multiple decades of 911 calls, going to a public safety access point and telling first responders how to come help us. The new law basically, and I'm taking away some of David's thunder, but I'm a little verbose today, now says, let's give them some more information. Let's tell them I'm on the second floor. So let's tell them I'm in the north end of the building. Whatever may be helpful to that first responder. And that's what this new law was about. So what we're going to take you through today is how we do that through this portal that lets you get more discreet. In some cases, and David will probably reiterate what I'm telling you, if it's a small office with 10 or 12 people and I can walk through the front door and, if I'm a firefighter or a police officer and I lift my head up and look around, I can pretty much see the whole building. Obviously, they don't need any additional detail. And I'll contrast that with a large, government complex or large university with multiple buildings, where we may want to be more specific and say, hey, I'm in, whatever the name of the building is at this address, and I'm in room 203. So those are the kind of details that you're going to have the opportunity to fill in and define, and then associate those with phones or users that may be in the northwest wing of the 40th floor using a sort of downtown Chicago model. So we thank you for joining. We want to be sure you understand that we're going to do these and continue to do these through the end of the year to help you. We see the evolution going from the first phase to now into the second phase of discussion, where we're going to talk about a few different kinds of endpoints, devices other than just the black phone on the desk. And then as we proceed through the end of the year, we'll probably turn these into more of how can we help you discussions around what are you maybe individually struggling with. Struggling may be a strong word, but I see Delaney's here. Her and I have had some few discussions along the way about, her particular and that particular requirement out there in that setting. We will encourage you to do that. So today we're going to turn the call over. We're going to let David take you through a little background and what we're trying to accomplish and what the tool UpEasy now enables you to do. And then we'll stop probably near the bottom of the hour at 20 of perhaps, and open the floor to comments and questions and have an interactive discussion. I hope that's helpful. And David, I appreciate you being here. David Chambers.
Thanks, Juan. So I'm David Chambers. I'm the Chief Service Architect for ClearSpan, supporting AT&T's hosted voice service. And Mike pretty much covered the entire presentation, so I'll just slide through the slides very quick. I hope. Here we go. The benefits of working from home. Don't be surprised if my dog doesn't pipe in at times. So the agenda today is just a very brief overview of Baum and Carey's law. Then we're going to talk about ClearSpan's compliance recommendation. Again, define and understand what a dispatchable location is and how that relates to the Intrado emergency routing service and what's known as an emergency response location, or ERL. Then what we've done with UpEasy to integrate into the Intrado ERS, including creating dispatchable locations and ERLs, assigning ERLs to devices, and potentially migrating subscribers from existing Intrado ERS accounts. So does anyone on this call already have an Intrado ERS account? Delaney, I think you said you had.
This is Tab. I have an Intrado account, and it's populated.
Yes. Okay.
Central Sierra does.
Okay, great. Then a brief discussion on Communicator on PCs and mobiles and how we treat those. And then the location information service, both Intrado and Microsoft, along with the HELD protocol, which is the way that the endpoint discovers its location for 911 calls. And then next steps, what you can be doing immediately. And then, like Mike said, we'll wrap it up with questions and exchange of comments. So the overview of Baum and Carey's law, the FCC introduced the requirements back in August of 2019, and there was two parts to this that applied to both many communication industries, including MLTS, multi-line telephone systems, VoIP providers, and I won't go through the whole list. But in essence, the Baum Act is about providing dispatchable location that allows with the 911 call to the 911 call centers, aka the PSAP, so that the first responders can quickly and accurately locate the caller. Like Mike said, if it's a large facility, you probably want to do more than just the postal address. Carey's law is the ability to make 911 calls without dialing a prefix digit like 9 or 8, and also to provide notification that a 911 call was made. The dates for the fixed devices, like analog devices that cannot be moved from one point to another and retain the same phone number, that was January 6th of this year. January 6th of next year is when the non-fixed devices have to be addressed. Be aware that several states have additional 911 requirements. For example, maybe how the maximum size of a facility that for a dispatchable location. And I'm not a lawyer, we're not lawyers, so we highly recommend that you work with your organizations, whether it's a safety group or regulatory advisors or counsel, to understand how these laws impact your operations and your environment. A dispatchable location, hopefully this is obvious. That dispatchable location is delivered to the PSAP with the 911 call. So with that, the way that works is a 911 call is delivered to HVS, which is forwarded to Intrado. Intrado, from the dispatchable location information that it has, figures out which PSAP to send it to, and also forwards that dispatchable location to the PSAP's CAD system. So this is where the URL comes in, where you've created a dispatchable location. You have assigned an URL, which is really just a label that is used to index into the dispatchable database. So the station identifier is sent to Intrado. From that, they know that this URL was assigned to that station identifier, and that's used to index into the database to be able to provide the dispatchable location information to the PSAP along with the 911 call. So there's a lot of reasons that we did this enhancement with OpEasy, including things under the hood that would be very problematic to do manually, but it also allows individual URL and subscriber provisioning through the GUI, but it can also do the same thing for both URLs and subscribers in bulk fashion by import and export. There's a set of rules, like I said, under the hood that OpEasy takes care of for you, independent of what type of device that you're trying to address. And it also allows sort of a distributed workforce for all your enterprise administrators, group administrators, and department administrators. However, department administrators are they're restricted to just being able to assign URLs to users. They are not part of the group that can actually add, modify, or delete URLs. And then creating the combination of the two through the GUI. I'll cover the GUI first, and I'll cover the spreadsheet, and then we'll get to the point where we're going to show you from the GUI how to add an URL to a user. So we've added a new section to OpEasy on the main page, 911 services. If selecting that takes you to two selections, ERS would be where you would want to navigate next. URL management, this is where you can add, modify, or delete URLs, and also the corresponding dispatchable location. It's important to note that the URLs have to be built first, and then you assign them to the users. It's not a simultaneous sort of event. So in this example, I'm going to add a dispatchable location and an URL. You will be presented this screen. Going down through the piece parts, the URL name is really just a label. Again, that label is used by the ERS to index into the database. but it's meant to be intuitive and it's meant to be distinct. Now, I know there's some customers that, at least one or more customers in the Intrado database that use the same URL name for multiple dispatchable locations. And I have taken that back to engineering for consideration of if that name already exists, then potentially use the account number, which is a machine generated number by Intrado and or OpEasy. Then the postal address you'll see here is your common street address all the way down to country. US is the only choice at this time. The location is actually the additional dispatchable location that is going to be provided with the 911 call. So, and then the description is more of a description of that location that is just above it. So as an example, I'll go to the next screen. It could be the second floor, suite 200. And a description could be something like engineering lab or receptionist desk or whatever is intuitive to the admin. The next section is about routing options. You can route the 911 call to a PSAP. You can route it to a NINA qualified security desk, or you can conference in the security team with the PSAP. The custom callback is really for extension only callers. So if the call gets dropped, the PSAP needs a way to call back, preferably to that end user via DID. However, if you have an extension only, you need to put in a custom callback number that would reach someone in that area, like an attendant or security desk or something. The notification email, this is a string of emails separated by commas. It's highly recommended that you also include email to text messages. So in this case, this is an AT&T example of telephone number at text.att.net. And this can contain many emails. I think it's up to like 1,000 characters. However, you should also consider building an email distribution list in your environment and just point it to that, and then manage the participants locally versus having to go through OpEasy. The security desk number is only required if you want to send the call to the security desk or you want them to be conferenced in. The notification display is what the security desk will see as calling name. So whether you want to leave it the same or you want to put something more descriptive there. And then whether the security desk is going to be automatically muted and just listen to the call or not muted and be able to participate in the call. Now, I said that you could do that with the GUI, which I just showed you, but you can also create it in a bulk fashion. This is the area under export that you would pull a enterprise export to get the spreadsheet. This is the import for the import after you fill out the fields. And this is if you've done an advanced export before, you will notice that we've added a new tab. This is not meant to be an eye chart. I'll break down the sections as we go forward, but I just want to show you a glimpse of the tab holistically. So in the far left, starting with column A, it's the status. That is really the status after the import. So that stays blank. The commands that you can add in column B are add, modify, or delete. Column C is really the URL name. Column D is the URL ID. In this case, leave this blank, let the machine generate this automatically because the URL ID has to be system-wide unique. The next section is really about the location information, including your postal information, and then the location that goes with the 911 call, the additional information, and then the description that is intended to be intuitive to the admin, and that is not sent with the 911 call. And then the last section has to do with the delivery of the call. Again, you can send it to the PSAP, you can send it to a NINA qualified security team, or conference in the security team with the PSAP. Again, leave this blank unless you're trying to facilitate extension only numbers. The email notifications here, security desk, the ID, if the security desk is to be part of the call, the notification to present to the security desk, muted or unmuted, and then error responses in the event that something in this row was done incorrectly. Assigning URLs to devices. This is where I'm going to just show you on GUI, but when we get down to existing ERS Intrado accounts and migrating that information into OpEasy, you'll be able to see how you can do this in bulk. So one, you select a user, you go to that user's phone, select edit. That will paint this screen. This here where it says ERL record name, this will populate, be a drop-down list of all the URLs that you have for your enterprise. The structure of the Intrado ERS is just one large contiguous enterprise. So if you have a very large number of URLs, then just start typing the first 3 or 4 characters of that URL name, and it will help navigate to that URL. A lot of people will use numbers. For example, if they're a franchise and they have a lot of stores, they typically have a numeric header for those stores. You could use that same information for the URL name. All right, migrating users from existing Intrado accounts. So with this, we've done this very much like we've done with Intrado Emergency Gateway, is that the Intrado ERS is the master of the URL data and dispatchable information data. And HVS, ClearSpan OpEasy, it will become the master reference for the ERS subscribers. With that said, there's a sync function that OpEasy 21.1 and going further supports. However, get your import done before you ever execute that sync, because it will overwrite the subscriber information that you have in the Intrado ERS. The other thing is whether you just have one ERS account for like for hard phones and such, or if you have more than one account, which is the case if you have both hard phones, mobile PC for one sub account, but you would have another account for Microsoft Teams if you have Microsoft Teams. We'll need one or both of those account numbers in order to allow OpEasy to integrate into the Intrado account for you. And just submit those to the ClearSpan ACTS support team via remedy ticket. This is an example of that's one of our engineering labs where we have so Intrado has a 3-tier account structure. In this example, this is for the non-Microsoft Teams, which is at level 3. And you can see that we have subscribers built, and let me go back to that. And this subscriber, there's more than this, but their old information, their old name, and the information that you need is to be pulled from the provisioning portion of your account, execute the export. From that, it's going to present all of these options that you want exported. Those are not necessary. It's just the default screen. So shrink it down to just these 5 items: the subscriber's item type, account name, subscriber ID, and name. Then hit export. Once that file is ready to download through your browser, you'll have an indication here, and then download it through your browser. And now you swivel chair over to OpEasy, where you can export the data. You select Advanced Export. From there, the only thing you want checked is users. I'll give you a better look at that. And then from that, you would execute the export. You will see the completion. This is just the bottom half of the page above. And once it's completed, then you can pull that, retrieve the results. And now you have 2 different spreadsheets. You have the Intrado export, which is on top, and you have the OpEasy Advanced export on bottom. I broke the OpEasy one up into 3 sections because there's so many columns in it that it would be problematic for you to be able to see. So in the subscriber ID, which is in column G from the Intrado export, you would find that match in the device line port. It will not contain the FQDN up in Intrado, but my assumption is that your FQDNs are rather standardized. And then the URL name, you would put under the device URL record. And then the command that you want to execute is modify device. So what's going to happen here is that OpEasy will take this information, find that line port and that device, and then associate that subscriber in ClearSpan HVS and have a synchronization event with the Intrado ERS. The import of the file should be obvious. Communicator on PCs and mobile devices are a little different than desk phones. So of all the endpoints for 911 origination, you have SIP wired endpoints, which we've been talking about. You have nomadic devices like a communicator on a notebook that can move from one access point to another. And then you have mobile devices, both Apple and iOS and Android. For those, the nomadic, which we haven't spoke on yet, there's a widget that you will receive from Intrado called Location Manager. It sits down in your tool tray, and it basically has the ability to detect when you change IP addresses, if you're wiring in, and it also detects changes in access points when you move throughout a floor space or from building to building. If it does not recognize that access point or recognize that IP address based on provisioning in the Intrado ERS, then it will prompt the user for their location. The location manager will send that to the ERS. It will be validated against the master street address guide. If it is valid, it will be accepted. If it's not valid, it will prompt the user again. And if it is valid, the ERS will update the emergency response location for that subscriber. So when a 911 call is made and sent to the ERS, they already have the updated dispatchable location to send to the PSAP. Mobile devices, both Apple and Google have partnered with a company called Rapid SOS. Rapid SOS has some technology that provides advanced location information over the cellular network. The way that we configure communicator, we set it up to prefer the cellular network to take advantage of what Rapid SOS has done. However, if your mobile device does not have a cellular connection, but it does have Wi-Fi connectivity, we'll accept a voice over IP call over that Wi-Fi network. We'll receive it at HVS, send it on to Intro ERS. It will not be provisioned with a dispatchable location, so it's going to fall through to their 911 call center, the emergency relay, ECRC, relay center, emergency call relay center, ECRC, for them to address with the customer or the caller their dispatchable location. List and held. So LIST stands for Location Information Service. It's a service that provides the dispatchable location to a device based on what the device provides to the list as its network location. So that network location can be based on, as I have here, it can be based on a subnet granularity, which is very broad in some cases, but that subnet has to be unique to that enterprise. If you have the same subnet in two dispatchable locations, that's going to be a problem. You can also have a dispatchable location defined in the list at a switch chassis level or even at a switch port level. The held protocol is the request to the list. It stands for HTTP enabled location delivery. So when the client or phone, it powers up or resets, it will inquire against the equipment through an LLDP request to get the subnet, the chassis information, and the port information, and send that to the list server. The list server will have, very much like an URL, will have that equipment pre-provisioned, and typically it's the IT department that would provision that because they know where their subnets and the various pieces of their network reside. From that, the client would receive let's just call it a token for the moment, that would be sent with a 911 call that would either contain the dispatchable location like it does for a Microsoft list in the form of what's known as PITFlow to be forwarded onto the correct PSAP. If it's the Intrado list, which does not, so Microsoft list is only for MS Teams. Intrado list is for everything else. The two phone models that will support the held protocol, and which I'll get to in a second. And in that case, it's just given a token. The device is given a token. When the call goes to ERS, it uses that token very much like an URL name to dip into the dispatchable database to get the information to send to the PSAP. So list and held, like I said, Microsoft has its own list. We are looking for a new release from Microsoft with MS Teams that will provide the ability to differentiate on-net, off-net workers, off-net being like work from home. Intrado has a list that supports the Poly phones and the Mitel phones. Poly, most of the VVX phones, with the exception of some of the VVX conference phones. And Mitel would be all of the 6800 and all the 6900 phones. Both of those are in our labs operational. They require new firmware, and that rollout is pending. We're hoping to have that in the next, before the end of the year. And UpEasy 21.1, which you have currently, will be it's able to provision non-held capable / enabled phones. It can provision communicator on PCs, and it knows how to configure MS Teams, whether it's PC or mobile. The last one is 21.2, which we are working on, which is going to do the provisioning of the held phones when we release that software. So next steps. Next steps is really about, as Mike opened this up, is looking at your environment and considering, weigh it against the liability. When a first responder shows up, are they going to have to wander from floor to floor or part of the floor to another part of the floor, or even have to select which building to respond to? Again, the second part is creating URLs for each dispatchable location that you define. As an example, East Hall campus, you could have, and it's room 2345, that you could have the URL name of EHC 2345. It's really your preference. And then if there's extensionally devices or users, who's going to receive the callback? Is it an attendant? Is it a security desk? And then the last recommendation is to identify who's going to receive the 911 notifications when a 911 call is made. It may not be the same person or the same people for various groups within your enterprise. And it's also highly recommended to include email to text references in that distribution list. And that's the end of the presentation. At this point, Mike, we can turn it over for questions and comments.
David, thank you so much. And thank you all again for participating. Is your head spinning like mine is? David covers a lot of material in a lot of time. I want to try to melt it down for you as I allow you guys to then interact with us and open mic. The important message is that HVS is prepared to support the new law and a variety of different devices, right? Whether they be desktop devices like laptops or, nomadic devices and transient wireless, I think is the best word, as well as to fixed phones. Right now, I think the tactic that's at hand for all of us is that you get your arms around these response locations and know that OpEasy is a tool that you can now enter them into and assign them to your users and devices. Some of you have, this migration to Baum Act compliance is not new. It has been a requirement, as David indicated at the beginning, for, in many cases, dates back a couple of years. But HVS customers, and specifically users, have had the opportunity to begin to migrate really at the beginning of 2021. So that's why we asked the question up front, which ones have already undertaken this, because there was another mechanism available that allowed users and customers and administrators, you guys, to already have undertaken becoming compliant through a separate portal. The real message here is, how do I now use OpEasy as that portal? If I've already done this with the separate portal, I think the simple statement we want you to take away from this today is just keep doing what you're doing, and we'll worry about how to migrate you in the months ahead, likely in 2022. Right now, if you have not migrated or done any of this work yet, we've now made it easier, right, with the new OpEasy interface to become compliant and enter the information you need to enter. The facts about EGWs and Microsoft Teams and its held protocol, again, I will put those in the bucket of saying we've covered the landscape for you, and if they're applicable, we'll deal with you individually on how to sort of address those. We just want you to know that you're covered. I don't see any of the HVS customers for the remainder of 21, getting new firmware and supporting the held protocol. As David indicated, we just want you to know it is sort of the future and a way to do it in a more automated fashion. The purpose of these series of calls is to help you become familiar with the interface Op Easy, how to find the link, which David showed you, or the hyperlink or drawdown within Op Easy that will allow you to do those two things. I know I'm being redundant. Define your response locations. When that's all done, associate response locations to devices and users. Whether you do that manually by just going screen by screen, or whether you have a large organization and want to do it in bulk, both are supported. So again, I'm going to now pause, allow all of you out there to poke at us and ask us questions. But fundamentally, this is an ongoing series of discussions. They'll happen on Tuesdays and Thursdays and evolve as we continue through the year. So again, I thank you for being here today. I'm not terminating the call in any way, but we got about 15 minutes left that we can let you guys ask us questions and get clarification, because I know we shared a lot of acronyms and information. Questions? Comments?
Mike,
Hello.
so the Intrado standalone product, there's a charge. Is that charge eliminated by using OpEasy?
That is a great commercial question. The short answer is no. All we've done is make it simpler to get to the Intrado interface.
Okay.
We're still using Intrado. Intrado's still charging AT&T. AT&T is still charging our customers on your bill the advanced E911 feature. What we tried to do is just make it so you didn't have to have separate logons. And remember, if I did something in OpEasy, I now need to jump over to Intrado and do the make the change. Yeah.
So I would still have to sign up for the Intrado service, but we would be able to update it via OpEasy.
Sorry, I'm not used to this. How fast my mouse is. You don't have to sign up. I think that may be, I'll just pick on the English, right? All of our customers, all HVS customers are going to begin to have all of their 911 calls routed to Intrado. That is the only way we can be compliant with the law. So beginning, certainly by January, if you are already not being billed for that feature called Advanced E911, you will begin to be billed for that. And it's billed on a per telephone number basis. Everybody has a different, well, not everybody. The rates are similar in most of our large customer contracts, whether you be, in one of the states or universities or federal government locations, even large enterprise customers in the commercial segment. The rack rate, what we call in the business, is on the service guides like $1. I would be shocked if anybody has that as their price point. So refer to your contract, meet with your salespeople, but I would expect the price to be significantly less than that per telephone number. But you don't have to sign up. That's what I'm trying to tell you. The important message is that there's already established pricing in all the state agreements and generally in almost every contract I've ever seen for this feature, because the feature's been around a long time, right? I mean, there are jurisdictions in Texas, and I picked on Chicago early, right? If you were in Illinois, they have jurisdictional laws in downtown Chicago that says you had to do this years ago, right? I mean, I had to tell them if I was on the 40th floor of some building. So we've offered this service as an option for years. Now with the Baum Act, we're being forced by the federal government, FCC, I'm not picking on them, I'm just saying it's now a requirement. And the only way we can meet the requirement is to use that feature. So again, nothing to sign up for, but you should meet with sales and make sure you review your agreement and understand the cost, because it will begin to appear on your bill. And none of us should have to pay $1 a telephone number is really what I'm telling you. If for some reason you don't have it in your contract, we need to do an amendment to get you a better price.
So to summarize, for those that are already Intrado users, we have to enter a ticket in some system. I'm assuming it's a MACD or an IR, and then at some point in the future, we can see the data in OpEasy, or
Oh,
does it work
yeah.
differently than that?
Yeah, Tab, that's a good, I see where you're going. Yeah, so what I'm trying to do is not, if you wanted to get that done sooner than later, we just open up a MACD ticket and we'll respond to it and we'll work with you individually to discuss how to migrate your information. I also
Right.
want you to know that you're already compliant. So there's no urgency to, as we go into the holiday season and into November to drop what you're doing and migrate or change anything immediately. You're already compliant. You're already being billed and invoiced correctly. And we can work through that. Now, I would tell you honestly, we have, maybe 1/3 of our customer base already has done that. We're looking at a way to help make that easier, right? How to export, how to synchronize. So my advice to you is just stand down and wait till first quarter and we get into January and we'll help you figure out how to migrate to the new single interface called OpEasy moving forward.
Okay, just work with my local assigned account representatives.
Correct. And the HVS, our help desk, the typical, whether you go through Remedy and open tickets or whether you actually calling the 800 number, any of those will work. Sales team, 800 number, whatever best suits you. I just repeat myself again. There's no emergent situation where you need to figure out how to migrate that data from the old to the new before the end of the year. You're good now is my message, right? And we can figure out how to automate that and make it easier so that you can quit logging into Intrado and having to, go to 2 places to fix this.
Okay, thank you.
Others? Overwhelmed?
So, Mike, let me ask the participants this. So, what did you find that was helpful, or what suggestion do you have to make it more beneficial to the audience?
Well, I'm a sales guy. I don't know that any of my customers have established URLs or even thought about it till I brought it up. So I think that's a big topic that maybe you could delve into a little bit more.
Yeah, and as you're talking to your customers, you may also want to, this manual provisioning of the non-held environment, it is really what I would call present day skill sets. But the held protocol, both what Microsoft Teams is doing and also what Polly and Mike are doing, it is really forward thinking sort of approach. But with that forward approach, where the device discovers its own location versus doing layer 2 scans or statically provisioning, the IT organization is obligated to map their network. Unless they want, for example, a location manager prompting them every time they change access points for a postal address.
So this is Delane. For me, having the PowerPoint or having the slides would help to follow along and really sink this in. I know you were going to try and get them posted. Have they been posted yet?
The previous ones have, Delane. This one where I took out a lot of how the sausage is made sort of slides has not been posted. It will be posted probably today. It takes a few hours to get this downloaded, and then
that would be super helpful if I could get a copy today. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll make it a point to get it to you. And I think that's a really good call out, right? Why we've got the recordings out there and we we need to make sure that the PowerPoints are available. Now, Delane, thank you very much, by the way. You've participated in several of these calls. I know it's probably a burden on your schedule to ask for this much time. But what we did on Tuesday was the first of the second segment. And as David just asked for feedback today, he got and we provided feedback from Tuesday. And since you were here Tuesday, you probably noticed a slight difference, right? We left some material out. We didn't, David called it how we make the sausage, took away a lot of the detail that probably isn't relevant to an administrator. But the short answer is we'll make sure the PowerPoints are posted on that website, and we'll make sure that the group today, we get you an email with that PowerPoint presentation as well.
Hi, this is Cheryl.
That would be fabulous.
Hey, Cheryl, you've got Dwayne.
Sorry about that. I had a question about Communicator. We don't have a lot of usage in our area. Basically, I have one service desk group that uses it when they're working remotely because they can't forward their phones due to a really weird all-call that we have set up for them. And they use their personal phones with the app running. For us to be compliant, do I need to do anything with their Communicator because they're really just running the app on their personal phone?
Well, let me tell you how that'll work. David, you feel free to take over if you want, but I'll go ahead, right? If you're running the BroadTouch Business Communicator client and it's on a personal device, right? Not a corporate machine, that device is still registering back to the hosted voice service that your company, enterprise, organization subscribe to.
Right.
And technically, per the law, we should account for their dispatchable location. Now, again, I'm going to be remedial a little bit here, right? The hard phone we get, the laptop, right, whether I'm running Windows or Apple, is different than a mobile phone, an iOS or Android device. What will happen if you dial 911 and I'll just pick on Apple because I'm an Apple guy. And I have my phone has both a Wi-Fi connection and it has the normal antenna to the service provider of that service, Verizon, AT&T, whoever it may be. If you dial 911 from the client application called BroadTouch Business Communicator or the UC1 app, depending on when you download it from the store, the first thing that 911 call in that application is going to try to do is go out the normal cellular path. So it's going to send the 911 call over to the cellular antenna, and it's going to handle 911 processing as if you dialed 911 natively from that device. And I can take you through how that works, but at the end of the day, there's a big magic cloud over there that figures out by geo coordinates and GPS where you are, drops it in, and comes up with a street address. It could actually send a law enforcement or some first responder to that location. The next question becomes, what happens if I'm in the basement, right? And I don't have any antenna to my normal wireless provider, but I do have access to, I have a connection to a wireless access point over the public internet. And your BroadTouch Business Communicator client actually registers to the HVS service via that path. Well, of course, the lawyers and regulatory people won't let me not make a 911 call. So we will send the 911 call out that client app, Cheryl and team, and it will reach HVS and we will route it to Intrado. Intrado's going to say, I don't know where you are. And they're going to route it to a help desk. It's called the ECRC, Emergency Communications Response Center. And a NINA, PSAP trained individual will live answer that call, talk to your user. And unfortunately, it'll have to be a two-way conversation because we don't know where they are. And they would then forward the call to the appropriate PSAP for that jurisdiction. So I don't know now that I've explained how that worked, what do you have to do? Nothing is the short answer, right? The client application on the iOS or Android smartphone will either go out the right antenna and get public safety help that way, or it will come back through HVS and we will give it to a live answer individual who'll talk to them. That's the short answer.
Okay.
Is that helpful? I kind of sometimes I build the clock and talk too much. So
Yeah, and that counts for ClearSpan Mobile as well, correct?
yes, it comes under a couple
I
different
figured.
brand names, right? With the advent of the new iOS, forgive me, is it 13.1 or 15.1, the one that just downloaded on my phone?
15.2. Yeah.
15.2, thank you. That one, I think that one we're asking you to go to the App Store and download the most current version, by the way. But you don't have to. I just think the results are a bit unpredictable. It's in the release notes for the PC. But FYI, yeah, it should be fine.
Okay. Thank you.
But it behaves the same way that I just described. Good question, by the way.
Mike, I did put the link to the training material in the chat window for everyone.
Oh, that's wonderful, David. Thank you. And I think to share the point made earlier by Delaney, I mean, I want to make sure the PowerPoint slides, not just this recording, are posted on that website. If you can help with that, that would be great.
Yeah, and Mike, I've been working with our CMO, and the intent is to also do snippets. So take specific portions of this and do just small recordings so that if someone wants to look at a specific topic, they don't have to go through the whole thing.
Yeah, so team, just be aware that I discussed that with him yesterday as well. Right, we're going to shorten these down into 3-minute segments of YouTube video. I'll use my English; that may not be accurate, but we don't want you to have to watch a 1-hour presentation to find the 3 minutes you wanted. So we're going to parse this out, cut it up, and make it into usable parts where we discuss specific use cases and our information. So you can click right on that little YouTube video and play it back. Thank you, David. Again, this is an evolving process, and we appreciate your participation and feedback because we're trying to make it better for yourselves as well as everyone else. All right, team, I got to the top of the hour. I don't want to cut anybody off, so I'm going to give us sort of last call here for information or questions. And remind you again, on Tuesday next week at 1 o'clock Eastern time, we will continue this series with another meeting. There's no other questions. I'm going to conclude the call and thank you again for. Go ahead. Yeah, please. Yeah.
This is your problem child again. This is Delane. So I'm looking at the website and I don't see the 911. I found the 911 yesterday, the first one, but is the second one been posted yet? Or it will be?
I thought it was, Delane, but I'll check on it.
Yeah. We'll be sure to get it posted today for you.
I'm not. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
No, we appreciate you keeping us honest. Thank you. All right, I do appreciate all of you. We appreciate your business. We're happy to have you as an HVS customer. We've got a big future in front of us, a lot of interesting things on the roadmap coming for you. That'll be another series of discussions. But right now, we appreciate you persevering through, what fundamentally is a federal law that we're all having to adhere to. And I know if you're like me, I've got plenty on my plate, but this is now taking precedent as we end the year because we got to make sure we're following the rules and regulations set forth. So thank you. And we'll talk to you again on Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you.